This is Friday evening's Undercard. On our wrestling show today, Bobby Heenan owes someone $37,000, Kamala screams, and Ken Patera lifts some weights. Welcome everyone to another episode of Friday Evening's Undercard. I'm Gentleman John. He's Electrifying Eric. We're your hosts. Eric, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you tonight?
I'm doing excellent this fine evening, and we're going to get on the line here, and we're going to talk about some old WWF wrestling.
Prime time wrestling at that.
Prime time wrestling. What episode are we on this weekend, man? Or whatever day. This ain't weekend, is it? Whatever day
we
it is.
are on the April 6, 1987 episode. So the episode right after WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, so this would have been the first episode they taped after Mania 3. The last episode kind of aired after Mania 3, but this is the first one that taped after Mania 3 when they actually talk about how Mania 3 went.
So, if you would, to put this in modern terms, this is actually the Raw after Mania in 1987.
Yes, it is.
So you could really, the episode we covered, the March 30th, you could actually skip that if you're trying to follow this progression-wise. You could probably skip that one. But this one's kind of your direct follow-up to WrestleMania 3.
One note from last week, I actually went and looked up Demolition for when they switched who Smash was. So Barry Darsow replaced Moondog Rex at the January 26th of 87 Superstars taping in Tampa.
Nice.
So technically the episode we did last week would have been Barry Darsow.
Okay.
Because that's what, if you look at some of the interviews with Axe, he was saying that it was just apparent that it was the Moondog they were now trying to repackage as Smash. And so the fans at ringside would be like, yo, that's a Moondog, and they would start a Moondog chant.
Glad to know wrestling fans are every bit as obnoxious then as they are today.
Absolutely. And see, that was actually something that Axe, Bill Eadie, never had to worry about because he had worked under a mask forever prior to becoming Axe. So nobody had any idea what he looked like. And he didn't have any tattoos or anything to identify him.
Well, it kind of reminds me in some respects, remember Lord Tensai?
Yes.
Basically that was just not getting over anywhere with the fans. And sometimes it's a great example of sometimes you put something forward, it sounds great on paper, everything seems to work right, and you put it out there and just whatever reason it doesn't connect.
And see, talking about Tensai, because obviously the gimmick there was that he was Albert. Prince Albert, the Vince Russo thing, I'm sure.
I see what they did there.
Yeah, ridiculous. So anyway, Tensai would come to the ring, and everybody in the arena would chant Albert, because everybody knew that it was Matt Bloom
right,
who was doing it, even though he'd gone to Japan for 6 or 8 years and worked in New Japan or whatever promotions over there, and then he came back over here. But what I always thought they should have done there was there's a number of things you could have done, but just been have him pick up a mic, just maul somebody, and as they're chanting Albert, he picks up a mic and just be like, no, I'm not Albert. That's who I was 10 years ago. That guy died in Japan. That's not me. I'm Tensai, and what, and then see if it works.
Yeah, or even, get on the mic and Barry, just say, hey, I was given this crap gimmick years ago. I leave. I go to Japan where they actually respect the product. They respect me as a performer, and this is who I am now. And you need to learn to respect me or something like that. You address it, and then it's done.
Yeah, because then you're not insulting the intelligence of the fans.
Exactly. And if they still want to chant Albert, all it does is just, get the guy angry.
Yeah, and then you acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And so then you bring out some job guy, and he beats the daylights out of him. They start chanting Albert. He grabs a hold of the mic. oh, you think you're funny chanting Albert? He's going to get it, and then powerbomb him like 10 times.
Yeah, I think, to me, if you did that, and, like, the more they chant Albert, the more he just beats on the guy, it turns into this strange, the fans are causing this to happen.
Yeah.
Which, as a heel, man, that's a nice layer of a heel to move forward. But, man, that was a nice little tangent we went on there.
That was pretty good. Just a quick break in the action, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to follow us on social media, we can be found on Instagram at fridayeveningsundercard, on Twitter at @FUndercard, on Facebook by going to facebook.com/fridayeveningsundercard, or you can reach us via email at fridayeveningsundercard@gmail.com. Please have a listen to our interviews with Ohio Valley Wrestling stars Tony Gunn, Sam Thompson, Kings Ransom, and Callie. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and give us that 5-star review on iTunes. It'd mean a lot to us. Now, we'll get you right back to the action. Okay, so anyway, to the actual episode of, classic WWF that we're talking about here. It starts off, Heenan and Monsoon sitting there. Heenan is dejected because Andre the Giant lost. He's not energetic at all. He's like mumbling. And then Monsoon makes some comment like about how Bobby Heenan owes the WWF offices $37,000 for the custom-made championship belt that he demanded be made for Andre the Giant.
And also, I think Monsoon got a good deal on some champagne as well for the Heenan family victory party that never happened.
I didn't remember that part with the champagne. I remember like in a couple of weeks they have the food and stuff brought in, and well, there's a cake, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I think it was just Bobby Heenan being Bobby Heenan, Gorilla being Gorilla, and I think what I enjoyed about that is like we all have a friend that we just love messing with, and it carries over. I mean, for folks that know, Bobby and Gorilla were really good friends, and you could tell that at times. Like, it wasn't, when he was busting Bobby's chops, it wasn't an act. Like, you could see them driving down the road doing that same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what made them so great, was that it wasn't just an act. It was real. And so I think, I think we always talk about in wrestling, the best characters are really just extensions of yourself, that you just turn the volume up.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, it was a real-life relationship between two really good friends that just became magic on the screen.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, they go back and forth. First match on the card here, Blackjack Mulligan against Tiger Chung Lee. And this is from a Wrestling Challenge taping, Springfield, Massachusetts Civic Center, February 17th of 87. Eventually, I will have noted who the commentary teams were for this, but I've already watched like 8 episodes ahead, and I'm probably not going to go back and watch them to write down who the commentators were. Just saying.
Well, for this one, it was interesting. I actually made in my notes, it's a heel announce team. You have Bobby Heenan and Jimmy V, or Johnny V. Very rarely, when you think about this era, you always have your face announcer and the heel announcer. To have two heels is kind of unique, and actually, I was cracking up during this match. The match was kind of just, it was what it was, but the commentary really was cracking me up. Some of their one-liners and just really good stuff.
Well, and so, obviously, Tiger Chung Lee was on the show last week, and so was Blackjack. They were in a tag match. The one thing that stood out the most about this match to me was the female referee.
Yes, I actually put that in my note as well, female ref.
Because that is, even now, I mean, that's different. Like, you don't see that. That's not a comment of whether it's bad or anything like that. It's just different. You don't see it.
Well, and also, I mean, contrast that with the Federettes.
Yes.
I
have a note about Federettes, too.
Yeah. I think we should do a deep dive episode on the history of the Federettes. We can be the most obscure wrestling podcast in the history of wrestling podcasts.
Yeah, I don't know how much history there is out there about the Federettes, though.
Well, we can make it up.
Oh, well, the WWE does.
Exactly.
We could be like the Aftermags way back when.
Exactly, yeah. But, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, like, and at first I didn't notice it until when I was like, wait a minute, it's a female ref. And just kind of, it just seems very, today, I don't think we would bat an eye at it in 2019 to see a female ref. I mean, we have in professional football and professional basketball, we have female refs. That's not a big deal, but I think in 1987 WWF, that gets your attention.
Yes, it definitely did. Like, that was actually the second note that I had right after Fedorettes.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that, because mine, I had Fedorettes first, followed by female ref. So
yeah, that's exactly how it went on mine. After I noted that we saw the two wrestlers the previous week in a tag team match.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to add about that one. Blackjack Mulligan won with a flying elbow.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting, like, I listened to some of the announcer work, and they were always talking about, you need to check his gloves, you need to check his boots. The old school wrestling, you would check their boots and pads before they fight.
Which, of course, they would always just load it up by kicking it.
Oh, yeah. And to me, like, for a lot of Blackjack's career, he was a heel. He was a bad guy. And in this run, he's a good guy, but I think, to me, it was just kind of interesting they're bringing that up. It was almost like, once again, I think the effective heel commentators are ones that are saying things we're all thinking, and they're right, but we just don't want to admit it.
Right.
And it just, to me, that just kind of, I might have been overthinking a Blackjack Mulligan versus Tiger Chung Lee match way too much than I should, but that just kind of, that sort of stuck out to me the way they worked.
Yeah. Anything else about that one, or are we ready to
I think it's pretty standard match, move on.
Okay. You get a segment in the middle after that match goes off. Heenan and Monsoon are talking about the Bundy match, where the King Kong Bundy match from WrestleMania, just to catch you up, where he dropped the big elbow on one of the little wrestlers and then did the big splash on him. And so Gorilla says that the match is under investigation, and then Heenan says that he ordered King Kong Bundy to squash Little Beaver like he did. Massive heel move here. Heenan's like, I'm just angry they left under their own power.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, man. The next part, you get a Mania report. Was it Gene Okerlund that did the report sitting there at the desk?
Yeah, it was Mean Gene. Yeah.
So Mean Gene does the WrestleMania report. Nothing earth-shattering here. I mean, this is basically, if you didn't buy the pay-per-view, this is what you missed. Buy the VHS tape. Heenan says basically, my day was a success. This is after Okerlund's report. Heenan says his day was a success. He blames the ref for Andre's loss. Looking back, okay, we can see it. And then you get this classic Heenan talking about the ref missing the 3 count in the Hulk Andre match.
Yeah.
Next segment, you get a Ken Patera segment. Obviously, the deal here, they're trying to bring Ken Patera back sort of into the fold. He had been there, I think, in 85-ish. Then he, they kind of recap it here, but I don't remember exactly. He got in, a fight at a fast food restaurant or something like that and got sent to jail.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's, their attempt to try to bring him back. And yeah, I think, we'll see this. I mean, if you follow some of the upcoming episodes, this becomes kind of a recurring theme for, a couple weeks here.
It is, yeah. They run this for 4 or 5 weeks. Regardless of what he did, that's kind of neither here nor there. What's definite is that he did 2 years in jail.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it was for, but that's what he did. He's lifting weights. He says Bobby Heenan ruined him, and then you end the segment. And of course, Heenan's like, no, I didn't ruin him. He did his own thing. Yeah,
and I think it's sort of interesting because today I could see WWE running more of a real-life storyline that kind of blurs the line a little bit with somebody. In 1987, that's still pretty rare to see. You know, these guys are characters who very rarely talk about their lives or who they are outside of the ring.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was a guy who got banned from WrestleMania with his press credentials because he wanted to run basically a biography piece about Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
So this was definitely weird for the time to see them actually bringing in the real world. Now, they kind of don't have a choice because you see it because everybody posts their stuff on Twitter. But
yeah, this is almost the closest thing you would get to a modern storyline in 1987.
Yes. So the next match we get on the card, Honky Tonk Man against Coco Ware.
And Frankie.
And Frankie the Parrot, yeah.
Yeah. Or Pigeon, as Bobby Heenan says.
Yes, the Pigeon.
Which actually, I think now, anytime I see any bird in somebody's house, I'm going to refer to it as a pigeon for cheap heat.
Oh, it's a nice pigeon you got over there.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that stuck out for me, once again, it's Honky Tonk Man just being full Honky Tonk Man, chicken heel. I mean, the fact he's getting upset that his hair is getting messed up,
Yeah.
that's good stuff. It's so over the top, but it works. But, one point, actually, we talk about wrestling not aging well, which we could probably do a weekly segment of an example of every episode of these.
Yes.
But there's one where Heenan, they ask, why is Coco wearing the glove? And Heenan says it's so that so at night when he's hitchhiking, he can be seen.
I wrote down that same line. Like, I had to pause the playback. I'm like, what? Did I just hear that? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, today, you do that line,
You're fired.
You will already be future endeavored by the time you get to the gorilla position.
Yeah, Vince will probably walk out and just pull you to the back, or during a commercial break.
I heard it and I think it was just which I would wonder, in 1987, would that line have even registered a response?
I mean, probably a little bit, but not like it would now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty racist. We'll just call it what it is.
Yeah.
But,
there was this one spot, earlier in the match. I guess it was, a big thing that everybody was saying that Honky had, just gobs and gobs of, I don't know, what, Brill cream or whatever.
Yeah.
And he jumps out of the ring to scream to the crowd that he doesn't have any product in his hair.
And then I think Heenan actually defends it by saying, he once let me run my hands through his hair,
It was dry as a bone.
Yeah.
I remember that spot.
Once again, I have a theory. You put Bobby Heenan involved in any match on commentary, I don't care how bad the match is, it will be worth watching because of Bobby Heenan.
Bobby Heenan might have been able to save the XFL.
The XFL would still be in business if Bobby Heenan was one of their commentators.
If he'd have been the commentator back in 2001, they'd have stayed in business.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I think a recurring theme as we go through these is going to be the genius of Bobby Heenan. And I just, yeah.
Yeah, it's classic.
Oh yeah, we will admit some of the lines do not age well.
No.
As we've discussed, but overall you could still take Heenan. I think what's interesting, in a lot of ways, if you watch the product today, Corey Graves really tries to channel his inner Heenan in a lot of ways. I think it just shows you how influential Bobby Heenan was on the product. Yeah.
So dealing with Honky Tonk's hair, Coco messes it up and the crowd just blows up. And it's that's old school stuff that you can get a pop out of the crowd just by messing up with the guy's hair.
Yeah, we think about WrestleMania 3, we had somebody's getting their head shaved. It's just an old, I don't know, it's one of those things that I think if you're a fan of today and you watch this, you're wondering, why did he get such a big pop for messing up his hair?
Yeah.
But then it just, whatever reason, it worked. So, but yeah, and I think also, these were two pretty good workers in this match.
Absolutely.
And we kind of we kind of hinted to it when we were talking about WrestleMania 3, and the idea of, you would have guys that were pretty solid, so who would win. So if you got a win over them, it looks like a big deal. And so I think this definitely...
And that's what Coco was.
Yeah. Yeah, Coco's the great example of that. Yeah, so I think, it did what it was looking to do here.
Yeah, there's another great line from Monsoon. He goes, "If you hung this guy for being a good singer, you'd be hanging an innocent man." Then I noted that there was a really good-looking standing drop kick from Coco, and then Honky Tonk wins on interference.
Yeah, and I think, what really impressed me was, as a fan, I would have always, recognized Coco Beware, but I never really paid attention to his work in the ring. Not a bad worker. Was able to do some pretty good stuff in the ring.
Right. Anything else about that match?
Nah, I think we can move on.
Okay. The next thing, you have a Hacksaw Jim Duggan interview with Mean Gene. I don't know what you wrote down about this. The only note that I have is that Hacksaw seemed drunk.
Well, that seems like every Hacksaw Jim Duggan promo.
More than most.
Yeah. Note to anybody that wants to go into professional wrestling, if you're looking to model your promo style after anybody, you can skip Jim Duggan.
Definitely skip Jim Duggan.
Just saying. Although, every time I see a 2x4, I think of Jim Duggan. Or anytime I want to start a random USA chant. So there is that. I mean, as a character, Jim Duggan wasn't bad. Like, he fit really well with that era, but his promos, man, just... I could do without him.
Yeah. Yeah, just let him come down and beat people with a 2x4.
Yeah, that's really what the people are paying to see. But speaking of what people want to see, how is it that Fuji Bandito is not considered one of the greatest Westerns of all time?
The best. It's right up there. Like, this is one of the best Westerns, just like Howard the Duck is one of the finest comic book movies ever made.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, you know, I watched Fuji Bandito over and over and over and over again, and it made Unforgiven look like a child's film. Just forget Tombstone, forget anything of Clint Eastwood. Fuji Bandito, if you want to see a classic Western, it is that.
You got to watch Fuji Bandito. Before that, they actually, Heenan and Monsoon were going back and forth, and he said something about Harley Race and the Fabulous Moolah. He goes, well, they're about the same age. Okay. We're not going to talk about Moolah's age here because we'll get to it in another match. Not on this episode. I think it's a couple episodes down the line. But let's just say her and Harley Race were not the same age.
Right.
They were not the same age, folks. Okay, man. What else do you got about Fuji Bandito?
You know, I could keep talking, but we have other stuff we have to cover, and I don't think people want a 7-hour podcast on Fuji Bandito.
No. Next match on the card, Ron Bass and Salvatore Bellomo. I did actually write down who was on commentary for this one. It's Vince, Jesse Ventura, and Bruno during that kind of short run in there where Bruno was doing commentary. And this is a Superstars taping, February 16th, 87 from New Haven. Howard Finkel was the ring announcer. I actually made note of that because that is, for this time period, it was getting more commonplace, but that was still a little bit different to see Howard as the ring announcer because he was still sort of the MSG ring announcer. I think that's how he started, was he was employed by Madison Square Garden for like all their stuff. And then eventually that just became a WWE gig.
Well, and I think if you watch some of these matches from this era, you'll see some really bad ring announcers. Like, guys, they just, pulled up to, hey, we need a ring announcer, put them in a tux, throw them out there. And once again, whenever I think of WWF, as far as a ring announcer, I think Howard Finkel.
Definitely got to be Howard.
He's just one of those voices that will always stay in your head. And so, once again, I mean, we talked last week about, just the quality of the announce team here. I think we could throw Howard, into that as well.
Yes.
Still, as a ring announcer today, he could still be top of his game. You could take him and put him in any era.
Yeah. Ventura kind of starts off the match, and he's talking about Bellomo's ring gear. And I had to stop and take a look at his ring gear, too. So let me just explain this if you're not watching along. He has, I'm talking from his neck to his boots and full sleeves, a black bodysuit. And then he has white outer trunks with red, green, and white symbolizing the Italian flag, making a big X on the front of his chest. And oh, good grief. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, not the most iconic ring gear in professional wrestling history.
No, it's not. I'll just go ahead and go to the finish on this one, and then if you want to add something, you can add something. Ron Bass hits him with an atomic drop, gives him a whip to the ropes, hits that big spinning elbow. 1, 2, 3. There you go.
I was thinking, there's a move that I would like to see more. The atomic drop. It seemed it was a staple of this era of wrestling, but you still see it as much anymore. But I'd like to see somebody just, break out the atomic drop one day.
Well, you can't do the atomic drop anymore because you've got to do 17 flips off the top rope.
That's very true.
I posted on Instagram yesterday, Instagram and Twitter, I posted a picture of the Greensboro Coliseum from 1978, sold out, just hanging from the rafters like Monsoon used to say. And then I posted a picture of a show from 2018 where there was about 50 people in attendance. And the comment that I made on that was, In 1978, you would see 50 moves a night in front of 10,000 people. And in 2018, you see 10,000 moves a night in front of 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just one of those things. Like, well, you can't do an atomic drop anymore because he's got to do his 795-degree backflip, whatever, off the top rope onto a lawnmower because it seems like the thing to do.
And see, what I loved, like, with the atomic drop, especially if it was a face giving it to a heel, the selling a good heel would do on an atomic drop was always classic.
I'm seeing in my mind right now Honky Tonk Man selling an atomic drop.
Yes.
Where he would come off of there, he would look like you hit him with a baseball bat in the tailbone. He would be selling it. His eyes were wide, his knees shaking.
Oh, yeah.
And that was classic.
Yeah. And I think, once again, it's not really that technically it's not a difficult move. But in the course of a match, it just adds to the story of the match. And, yeah, it's one of those things like, when I think of old school wrestling, I think atomic drops. So we've actually talked more about the atomic drop than this match itself, which is all you need to know about this match.
Yes. Next segment, you get Kamala, Kimchi, Fuji, and Sika all out. Kamala's obviously screeching and screaming, and I think it was Fuji. He says that Kamala hasn't forgotten what the white people did to his people, and he likes to eat them.
Yeah, that holds up well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can see that storyline popping up on SmackDown next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kamala, this is the first time we've seen Kamala. He was kind of in and out here and there during this time period. But for people who watched during this time, I mean, I think you could say he's like a reasonably iconic character.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to have a lot of feuds with guys. I mean, we're looking here at 87, but he's going to be going even into the 90s.
Yeah.
Here.
And this is a Jerry Lawler guy. They always talk about how Jerry Lawler kind of got him started as the Kamala person while they were working in Memphis. And apparently Kamala still lives like just 45 minutes south of Memphis. Yeah,
I think, I talk about a guy that, had a pretty good run in the business. Was involved in some pretty big storylines, got to work with some top guys. Not the most culturally sensitive gimmick in the history of pro wrestling.
No.
For those listening at home, Uganda is not full of Ugandan headhunters and cannibals.
No.
But
no, it is not.
Just in case you're wondering. But, I did, my one favorite thing, I would never buy this shirt, but I thought it was a brilliant pro wrestling shirt. Somebody made a Kamala t-shirt that has, like, the stars and the moon, and that's all it is on the t-shirt.
It's just a brown t-shirt with the stars of the moon.
Yes. I was like, I don't necessarily know if that shirt is appropriate. But
no, I was about to say, like, would wearing that shirt as like white as me and you are, would that be like blackface?
Well, I'm not trying to run for governor of Virginia, so I think I should be okay.
Or like every other cabinet position in Virginia.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, when I saw that shirt, I was like, that's the most amazing pro wrestling shirt I've ever seen. I'm like, whoever came up with that idea, get them a job doing marketing right now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There's genius there, whoever did that. But yeah, and like the Kimchi character with Kamala, he's going to be recurring throughout. You would always have, there were Fuji here, but you'd always have the manager, but you'd always have Kamala's handler, Kimchi. Always.
Yeah, they were a pair.
Yeah.
They were always a pair.
Yep, so... And of course, after this, Kamala's going to be working some matches with Hogan.
He does. He works some matches with Hogan.
So sort of the monster heel that we're putting up in front of Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala rules, actually. He was always a character I enjoyed as a kid.
He was crazy.
I just like, he's like this fat dude that's like hitting his belly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because there's probably a period when I was like 8 or 9. So if I ever went to Africa, that's how I would have to communicate. Just like slapping my belly, and it would communicate with the locals.
All right, the next match on the card, we've got Demolition against the Islanders. It's from Madison Square Garden. This was the Madison Square Garden debut for Demolition, actually. February 23rd of 87. And just a little note, we have 18,000 people in attendance.
Solid numbers there.
Johnny V, the manager for Demolition, he's not at ringside. And this is the first one of the, like, continuity differences that I noticed. The commentators are talking about WrestleMania in the future.
Right.
As they're going through the match.
Yeah, and I think this is where if you would take somebody that watches the product today, and then you look back what it is in 87, it's night and day. I mean, say what you want about WWE, their production is about as slick as it gets.
Oh,
you know, so when you would look at that, you'd be like, oh my gosh, the differences. And yeah, just to really tell that, I mean, today, the idea that you would package this, everything would be to have something that you're talking about in the future when it's already happened, that that would never happen today. No. But, so there is a difference. I mean, I think.
Although, let's not pretend this never happens. 2 days ago, Johnny Gargano was on SmackDown. He was on Raw and SmackDown as the North American champion, and he lost that belt every bit of a month ago.
Yeah.
No, it probably wasn't a month ago. It would have been the NXT taping that was like 3 days after the Royal Rumble, because he won it at the Rumble, then he lost it at the next taping, but the taping didn't air until yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, but I think at least they're trying to at least give some continuity there. I mean, I think those of us that really follow it will notice that. But yeah, but what they're doing right now is, they're not going to go live. They're not going to record, an entire show for Prime Time Wrestling. And you're trying to show your guys, this kind of does that. I mean, at this point, they're really trying to build Demolition up. This is the build of Demolition.
Yeah.
And I think we're talking,
obviously it wouldn't be long before they were right there in the title picture.
Yeah, and you can really see that building. I mean, they're really putting these guys over strong. And what we're looking at, this is Demolition's going to be one of the more over acts for the next couple of years, at least in the tag team division.
Definitely. And all the way up really to WrestleMania 6. I mean, even past WrestleMania 6.
Yeah, certainly, and I think an iconic team for WWE.
Oh, yeah, possibly the best tag team to ever work only in WWE, maybe?
That's an interesting question.
Because, the Road Warriors are probably definitely better.
Yeah.
As a whole package, but I mean, they worked everywhere, and same thing with Tully and Arn. They worked all over.
Even when you had the Steiners there for a while, I think as far as what we would say strictly WWF created tag team, I think you could argue that.
Certainly until you get to 2000.
Right.
Anything before that, I mean, I don't think there's any, because the Hart Foundation, Brett and Neidhart, and even the Bulldogs, that's Stampede Wrestling.
Right.
But Demolition, you took two guys. I forget where Darso was working, or who he was working with as whatever. But Edie was, he was working a masked gimmick as one of the machines.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert: the machines are going to be on a upcoming program.
Very true.
But so anyway, back to the Demolition against the Islanders match. I don't really have anything earth-shattering about the match. I don't know if you've got anything. Demolition wins. Shocker.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is they're just building this team up. You can see that this team's going to be playing a role moving forward. I mean, there's not you're going to see a recurring theme that they're on television quite a bit during this time, especially on prime time.
Yeah.
So I think that's about all we can really add for that. Not a whole lot to add about the match, really.
No. Oh, and to go back to what we had talked about last week, because I went and looked this one up too, Demolition basically never lost a TV match.
Mm-hmm.
They did lose to, I think, the Brainbusters on a Saturday night's main event to drop the belts to them, and they lost a couple other matches for the championships and stuff like that, but that was it. Basically they did not lose. And that's another thing that's different between then and now. Now you've got guys who are supposed to be main event guys losing every week.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it is I think it's a different era, but if you're trying to put a team over big time, this is how you do it. And so they certainly they do a great job of that moving forward. Demolition.
Yeah. Next match, we get another tag team match. Rougeau brothers against the Hart Foundation. 1 fall, 45-minute time limit. Now, that's another thing you don't hear anymore. You don't hear time limits anymore.
No.
I can't remember the last time I heard a time limit.
Yeah, that's actually something that would be interesting to look up. When did that really get phased out, I kind of think that was, that phases out, I want to say, early 90s to mid-90s.
Yeah, I want to say WCW kept it around for quite a while.
Yeah.
But WWF, no, who knows? Yeah, early 90s, if that.
Yeah, that's certainly a blast from the past in terms of things you really won't see anymore.
No, because I remember on WCW television, that was how they would build heat in the feuds for the TV title.
Right.
They would have those have a 15-minute time limit on television, and they would have these guys wrestle to the time limit for 2 or 3 straight weeks.
Yeah, and I think in some cases that could actually build for fairly compelling television. It creates a good match, especially if you have 2 good workers. And so, yeah, kind of an interesting little thing that of a bygone era.
For sure. So let's see. That one's in the Boston Garden, February 7th of 87. Both teams are getting boos. That's weird. And I don't know if that's just because they're both Canadian and this may be like a hockey crowd or something.
Yeah, you're looking at certainly Boston has had rivalries with Montreal as well as Toronto through the years. And it's probably just of this era. If you want to boo somebody, have them from another country. That was a pretty standard gimmick for, a heel.
And speaking of hockey crowds, for your obscure hockey reference of the day, I was looking through something on Tommy Dreamer's Instagram, and I saw him wearing a hat. And I'm like, that's a hockey team hat, but I have no idea where it's from. So I went back and looked it up. Tommy Dreamer was wearing a Quebec Nordiques hat.
Wow.
As he was recording his podcast, and I'm like, that's pretty obscure.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome there, actually. Yeah, and I think, and also, I understand, in this era, if you want to have them from Russia, that's easy, or Mr. Fuji from Japan. Even though, by this point, World War II had been over for 40 years. But,
yeah, that was probably more heel stuff back in, 1955.
Yeah, but, in this case, from Canada, having been to Canada quite a bit, it's the least heel-like country in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
They're if you could take Bob Backlund and turn him into a country, it's Canada. And I say that in, the highest praise possible. So, the fact that you're from, Canada and you're a heel.
Wait. You mean the Bob Backlund that would make you recite all the presidents before he would sign an autograph?
No.
That's not Canadian at all.
No. We're talking Bob Backlund when he was champion for 17 years. The howdy doody phase of Bob Backlund.
Okay.
Yeah, but Canada's the least heel-like country. Really, you're hard-pressed to find heel-like moves that Canada does. But hey, they're not from America, so let's boo them.
Yeah. One comment that I had in there, Monsoon was on commentary. I did actually note one of the commentators here. Monsoon was on commentary, and he made a note about Demolition during this match. And he's like, I think Demolition is bound for greatness.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you can see that they're trying to push Demolition at this point, because they're talking about him during a match that doesn't even involve them, but does involve the tag champion.
And I think you're going to talk about some great matches with the Hart Foundation and Demolition in the future, and they're going to be some. You're just building this up. I think once again you can see kind of what they're doing with Demolition, and it's just the process of building a new team, building a new act up, and
Hart Foundation lost. We'll just go to the finish. They do a pretty cool, I don't know how to describe it. I think it was Jacques that got up on the top rope, and he sort of grabbed Ramon's arms and got kind of flung over top of him down onto whichever one of the Harts was down there.
Right.
And so there you go. That's the end of the match. They got the pinfall in a non-title match.
Yeah, a solid match. It's certainly one of the greatest of all time, Bret Hart in there. So, I think, good solid match. I think also, it's interesting in this era, and I think, in general, of how big tag teams were at this time. We're talking about the Hart Foundation, we're talking about Demolition. There were some really good tag teams in this era. The Bulldogs, something that I think, maybe they're trying to get back to in WWE today, but certainly not what a lot of fans would really notice with a thriving tag team division.
Well, I mean, just think about 1987. Think about the tag teams that were out there. I mean, not even just in WWF, where you had the Harts, the Bulldogs, the Killer Bees. You know, they were definitely a solid team. The Rougeaus, Demolition. You know, but then what do you have when you go to the NWA or so on and so forth, where you end up now with the Road Warriors, the Rock and Roll, the Midnight, the Fabulous Ones, Fantastics, the Freebirds, the Von Erichs, you know.
Arn and Tully.
And
actually, I mean, just a little bit later, you get the Steiner brothers. And
yeah, they came in what, 89 or something like that?
Yeah, so I mean, we're not, too much later. So I mean, this is like an era of, this is probably, I think, the golden age of tag team wrestling. Hence why, I think you look at that, and these aren't just great tag teams. These were some great workers that were in these tag teams as well.
Absolutely. And, I think this was back before there was a mindset that everybody needs to be a main event star competing for the world championship. And that's not a knock on somebody like Kofi Kingston, who's going for the championship right now. Because that's kind of a different deal. But I think the mindset that WWE had for the longest time was that every tag team eventually has to blow up. You have to spin off a single star or two single stars, because think of how many times they did that. Or you have to have them blow up and then they feud against each other, which can work, but not if you do it every single time.
Well, it works if you're Shawn Michaels, not so much if you're Marty Jannetty.
Well, that's true. It works if you're Bret Hart.
Very much so if you're Bret Hart.
And that's not to say the Anvil didn't have a heck of a career.
Right.
But you look in the other promotions, and that was not something that they ever did. I don't think there was ever talk of the Midnight breaking up.
Right.
I don't think there was ever talk of the Rock and Roll breaking up. And, they never did. Obviously, I think the Rock and Roll still works shows now.
Yeah, I think it was at least if you look at, Jim Crockett Productions or WCW, you tended to have your tag teams stick together a lot longer. And usually they would just leave the territory more than break up. And also, we can look at, if you look at, say, the history of Southern wrestling, there were times where it was the tag team match that was the hottest feud going.
Oh, absolutely.
You
listen to some of Cornette's stuff, and he'll tell you that that the Midnights and the Rock and Roll, they were the main event in basically everywhere that you didn't have Ric Flair with the NWA World Title.
Yeah, and even then, taking nothing away from Flair, but there were sometimes those storylines were so hot, people were looking forward to that tag team match, not necessarily the world champ. And that says something that, there were guys that were tag team wrestlers that I would say, if you would look and say, who are your top guys in your promotion? It was your tag team guys were right up there. The Road Warriors were every bit as notable as Ric Flair or Sting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so, I think it's something that, also, it's a way to get a lot of guys on television. You're guaranteed to have at least 4 guys in the ring, and that's good if you're trying to get guys TV time.
Well, that actually brings us to the end of this episode of WWF Television.
Yeah, I think, once again, it kind of does what it's there to do. Promote the product and not so much moving storylines forward as much as I think we would be used to. But, I think it's, for classic 1980s wrestling, primetime wrestling is sort of the, it might be the most 80s-esque form of wrestling there is.
Yeah, I think so. Just sort of to wrap it up for the long build that they're working on here. You see Demolition, they're getting stronger. They're looking stronger. They've been on there 2 weeks in a row. And you see more kind of hinting a feud between Outlaw Ron Bass and Blackjack Mulligan.
Yes.
Because, they're basically the same person, just, Ron Bass is younger, and they're there. So I guess we get to see where that goes. Because a lot of this stuff, I don't actually know where it goes. I don't remember. I sort of remember where the Intercontinental Championship went.
Mm-hmm.
Because, obviously, right now, at this time, it's on Steamboat. I sort of remember who it goes to next, and then next after that. So I know where the Intercontinental Championship went. Kind of remember the Tag Championships. Definitely remember the World Championship. But, all the underneath stuff, like I totally don't remember any of that.
Yeah, and I think, for a lot of it, I mean, at least for us in '87, we're 4 years old. Like, so a lot of it, a lot of this I remember, like the big storyline, certainly from like watching WrestleMania 3, watching the pay-per-views, but so it's kind of neat seeing how these stories sort of developed. Because even though we know how it ends, it is kind of somewhat fresh. Which is, at least for me, it's kind of neat to go back and watch this.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I have some of these episodes I've probably never seen. I mean, once we get into 89 or 90, I've probably seen a lot of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, this stuff, no, I'm sure I haven't seen hardly any of this, at least first run.
But yeah, I think with that, I think we're about at the end of our time.
Yes, we are. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I think just, another solid episode of Primetime Wrestling.
Another pretty solid episode. Well, hey, we appreciate everybody out there listening. If you want to get in touch with us, find us on social media. You can email us. We'd appreciate any feedback you want to give us, positive or negative, because that way we get to make the program better. And we hope you come back next week. Have a good day, everybody.